Hi there.
Will be recorded.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Just fine.
All right.
Everybody, this is Roxi Sim. She is the creatrix of the amazing Pearls of Wisdom, and I'm Arwen of Tarot by Arwen, and welcome to our interview. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Terrific. Thank you so much for giving up your time to do this interview. I know that you're a very busy woman, and I really appreciate that.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to be interviewed. So.
Hey, any chance to talk to a tarot creative? I'm all about that. Let me get my questions pulled up here. And first of all, tell us just a little bit about who you are and why you're a tarot creative. What called you to create tarot?
Okay, well, I came to the tarot as an artist. I was an art educator and had got into painting after I'd lost my son, and we went and had this opportunity to live in the Caribbean for a year. My husband worked, and my older son went to an international school, and I took down 200 feet of canvas and a suitcase full of paint.
Wow.
And taped the canvas to the wall and just got into this world of paint and color, and the Caribbean is just brilliant in color and inspiration, and it was my therapy it was my art therapy, just plain and simple. And when I came back, I live in Canada, in British Columbia, at the time in a really small town, and I came back and started painting other things than the Caribbean because I'm back in Canada, and I had this series of international dolls that I painted, and my grandmother had traveled the world and brought dolls back, so I did a whole series of painting, and my friends go, "Those look like tarot cards." I'm going, "Oh, tarot cards? What are tarot cards?" So they took me into this little realm of tarot cards and some of the decks that they had, and I looked at it all and went, "Gee, I think I could do that. It might take me a couple years, but I think I could do that." And just around that time, I also lost my mom, and so I went through this other very deep depression and grief and that kind of thing. And again, I turned to my art as therapy for myself. And the tarot was also, I had taken art therapy at university and studied Jung, and I also had done a lot of work watching and reading Joseph Campbell and The Hero's Journey.
One of my faves.
Yeah, and so as I looked at the tarot and started to learn about it, I went, well, the fool is the hero, and you're the fool, and here we go. This is going to be very foolish, but I'm just going to do this, right? And I can't say I knew anything about the tarot as I learned as I painted. And I drew the cards. I didn't follow any. I'm very nonlinear. that describes me in a nutshell. Very ping ping ring ricochet rabbit. Do you remember that show?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's me. Anyways, I would draw the card from I think I had a Swiss deck, the Swiss deck, so hardly any pictorial or anything. And I really wanted my deck to not be a copy or follow the other symbolism. I wanted it to be my own interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And so because I didn't know anything about it, I didn't have to fight off the Rider-Waite or the Toth or any of that, right? It's the Roxy deck, like it's not somebody else's interpretation, it's mine.
Yeah.
And then as I went and learned about what each card meant, and then it was like, okay, take it all into words. And I did a lot of research with books as opposed to looking at actual decks. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of Rachel Pollack and Mary Kay Greer and Angeli Zandarian and just so many different ones that I read and worked more from words, wrote down sketching and all the stuff. And I have to also say that through this whole period of time, I was also very ill with Lyme disease.
Oh, wow.
So my mind this was something that kind of carried my mind together because you get a lot of brain fog and cognitive things with it. And I was also had this goal that I would make my way through this illness and gain my health again. So that was my goal with this whole process. So what I did was I painted what I needed to see. I didn't paint my angst. I didn't paint my pain. I painted bright and uplifting colors. I painted optimistic images. I painted a way out of every card because there has to be a way out, and it's the only way out is through, but there's still a way out.
Yes.
Right? And it was also a really interesting experience because as I drew the card and worked through what it meant and then went, okay, now how can I turn these back into symbols? I learned the language of flowers. And so that's throughout the deck. Every flower that's in there has a meaning. Mm-hmm. And then I learned about runes, which was really interesting, and incorporated those into the deck, which I think at that point nobody else had done, or maybe Pamela Steele had done it in her deck. That was one of our connections. And then, of course, the psychology of color and all of those kind of things that I had studied as an artist and all that kind of stuff. So it's very bright. They're very busy. People say they're very busy. They are. I had a very busy mind. But the paintings, the originals, are 30 by 40 inches. They're very large. And 24 by 36, because I didn't know about aspect ratio back then either. But they don't seem so busy large as they are when they're condensed down.
As a reader, as a professional reader, I've read with your deck for clients. I've taken it and used it in professional situations. Never once has anybody said they're too busy. I hear they're bright, they're childlike, they make me happy. You know, people really respond to them, and I take and put 3 decks out in bags, so you don't know what's in the bag. And generally I have a Rider Waite and then 2 other decks. And so when somebody chooses the Pearls deck, for me, that tells me they've got journeys that they need to go on. And almost, I would say 99% of the time, that's been what's happened with the reading. They've told me, well, I'm going through this. It's really rough, and it's always been very uplifting for them. So if somebody finds your deck busy, they're not that deck's tribe. That's my new phrase.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. And I was always, well, there's lots of simple decks out there, and if that's what you want to go with, like, you know, something that has less stuff in it. But to me, it was about reading. And as an artist, the idea is to have somebody look at your artwork as long as you can get them to keep looking.
Yes.
Right? And so I like to put things that take the eye in and around, and it's in the depth, and I love to play with depth. Even though they don't look depthy, they have that. And they're kind of fun if you get a magnifying glass out and look at both with both eyes. They go 3D.
Oh, I'll have to do that.
The way with the ink lays on top of it, and then if you get those little ones that come with kids' toys, they're really trippy.
Well, I truly love Pearls of Wisdom. It's and you do have a new edition of it out, correct? How would somebody come get that? I'm going to put it in the drop-down box, but how can they get their own new deck?
Yeah, what I've done is re-release the deck. We took the time to re-photograph all the paintings using a Zeiss lens, which is just one of the best lenses in the world, just incredible detail and focus. And then they were printed up on the into the cards at 300 dots per inch. So a little bit of technical stuff. The original decks were 72 dots per inch compared to 300.
So they're going to have better resolution. DPI, I know.
And I have some if you want to see some.
Yes.
And the other thing that I did, because they're self-published, and this is through the Game Crafter, I could make them in different sizes too. So I've made them in the poker size. And
wow, the colors are so more intense.
Yeah, and the details, they're just so much more in there. And that's the poker size, and then this is the jumbo size. So you can see
wow.
The difference between the sizes.
I keep looking over here because I've got another screen, so if you see me glancing over here, that's why.
So the jumbos are even more into, you can really get into the details and that kind of thing. So
that's gorgeous. And is that your
borderless? And they're borderless.
Oh, no, that's the High Priestess. What's on the other side?
The High Priestess is the and Temperance. Is this one.
Okay, good.
One of my favorite cards.
The colors really pop on these, and they were beautiful on the other ones, but I can even, just on this, see a difference.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. And, well, just the difference in the photography, because the first ones go back to pre-digital, right? So
Right.
everything was digitized at 72 dots per inch. So, you get, it's just fuzzy. Now it looks like, oh, I got it in focus, right? And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I've added another little thing that's just going to come out. So you're the first one to know about this.
Ooh, new projects.
Well, I had another kind of thing this year, and I spent a lot of time playing solitaire to keep my hands busy as things were going through, and just to let my mind go. And as I was playing it just with a regular deck of cards, I would keep getting the same patterns. Oh, I'm always winning with the fours on the aces, and this one with this one. And I started looking at it going, this could be a reading. This could be a way to do something for yourself, because it's kind of unconscious. You're playing a game. Right. You're making decisions as to which card's going to go where. And in the end, however it finishes, whether you win the game, or maybe if you don't win the game, well, what's stopping you? What's blocking you? What were the kind of questions that I started asking myself while playing with the regular playing card? So I started chatting this up with my son and a few other people, and so what we've done is we've taken my cards and we've numbered them. I can put that
Okay,
up.
yeah.
Red and black. And I've created a Pearls of Wisdom Solitaire.
How fun is that?
And the idea is that you would use the whole deck of cards, and I've included the majors in it as well, and each row has a meaning as to what it is. It pertains to your question. And I've got sheets that we've developed so that you can turn over and say it's the Knight of Wands and circle that. And then as you go through each play, you record it. And then at the end, you record however it turned out, whether you cleared the deck or whether you couldn't play anymore. And then you can interpret the finished reading.
That's ingenious, Roxy.
And the deck told us how to do it. So I would lay out the deck, and each card that I turned over, this column means this column means this, as per what each of the cards meant. And I like the idea because it's very hard to read for yourself. You kind of look at it and go, nah, that can't be it, or I don't know. I mean, I did this for myself last year. I was passing out some business cards to people, and the last one I had was the Tower, and I went, I'm really sorry, here's the Tower. But when I got home, the Tower was for me, right?
Whoops.
So you kind of go, okay, it's all out there, but you don't, it's unconscious then, right? So the idea of it being a game puts it into that unconscious realm, because you're playing the game. You're not thinking about what the reading is until it's all done in the end. And the other part is there's the element of chance in terms of how the deck was shuffled. And then there's the element of skill in terms of how well you play the game, or how well you can look at it and go, oh, if I move that card over there and put that one there, I could move that, and like just your skill of it. And of course, having the 4 extra cards in there makes it even more challenging, right? Because now you have to do the page and the knight instead of just the jack, right? So it makes the whole solitaire game. So I'm looking at doing it in a couple of ways. One will just be the minor arcana as a deck of cards. So the Pearls of Wisdom card deck for people who just want to use them as a playing card. Just something different. And it's kind of funny because people that I know that have known my art and all that kind of stuff, but they're not all that interested in the tarot. Right. But they liked the idea of having these as a deck of cards.
Yeah.
Okay. So now it's a way of moving the tarot out into another realm as well. Maybe somebody who's into cards will pick them up and then become more interested. So that there's a little bit of that in there.
That's awesome.
And then the rest of it has to do with like the booklet and recording everything and journaling. And so the idea to me is it's a very in-depth full deck reading personally. Mm-hmm. But it's also something you could do for someone else. So if you do tarot readings, you could do this whole layout for someone, and maybe it would be your ultimate reading because it's a full deck in that kind of thing, right? But
Yeah.
it's something that you could do for other people as well, or you could let them play the game and then read their game.
Now, when will this deck be available for people to get their little greedy, grubby paws on?
Very soon, very soon. We're just finally at the point of the last edit of what I wanted to say on the back of the box. And it'll come in a box about this size.
Nice.
This is from my Platinum edition, and I'll talk a little bit of those afterwards. And it'll come with, and I haven't got the actual books, that's what we're waiting from, but it'll come with a book and a journal which has spaces for you to write about
and look
your
at the
stuff.
beautiful borders. Somebody who liked coloring could even color in that. That's wonderful.
And that's another, I told you I'm Ping Ping Ricochet Rabbit, right? I'm also working on a coloring book with another person who is really into helping women entrepreneurs, which I think is helpful for all of us because we're trying, tarot is an entrepreneur sort.
Yes.
And her idea is writing the book to help people, encouraging them with success in their business and ways to, achieve that success and work towards it. And she's doing the writing, and then I'm doing the illustrations, and there'll be floral, actually, bouquets and flowers and that kind of thing. And the idea is that it's a calendar, day book kind of thing, but also stress relief with the coloring.
Excellent, excellent. Because
So
adult coloring books and adult, I have a book of coloring that I got, and it's a positive affirmations coloring book. And so I'm loving it. It's got really positive little short phrases. It doesn't say seek joy, y'all, though. I don't know why they missed that one.
I missed that one. Well, that's okay. I'm going to lead into my last one, which is another one that I'm working on, and I'm not quite finished, but I am getting there. And this stems back to my journey in painting, and my journey last year with my little tower year that happened. So I was looking at rebuilding my life again. Mm-hmm. And I had no studio anymore. I really had no place to create. So I turned to paper and colored pencil, and I was designing things for a friend of mine who was an engraver, and for a folk festival in Vancouver and that kind of thing. So I kind of kept myself busy that way. But I also was looking at reclaiming my life, and I wanted to do stuff with my artwork, but a lot of it either I don't have anymore, or it was photographed in the days of 72 DPI, or just wasn't properly photographed or whatever. And of course they weren't all the same aspect ratio. I wanted to make them into cards. So I took a look at all of my work, and I started recreating and reclaiming my work. Now the first one, and this is going to be a deck. It's not, I don't think it's an oracle, because it's not about divination. It's more about helping people recover from loss and trauma. And so what I'm looking at doing is, once I've finished them all, because my mind keeps changing as I'm going through the process and different images appear, I want to do probably in the jumbo size, so they'd be printed off this size. Mm-hmm. And on the back size, I'll have a meditation.
Nice.
So there'll be like a meditation card, as opposed to telling you but it will be about joy and sorrow. And the whole story this is from the first painting that I did when I went to Grenada. And this was about losing my son. And joy and sorrow.
I love that piece. I think you've shared it somewhere before, because I've seen...
Yeah.
And
it's actually a really large painting. And so it was kind of my first one where I was putting symbolism into the painting and all of the rest, and it was the first one that I painted when I was in Grenada. Mm-hmm. And it was my way of learning how to live with a broken heart, and realizing that the depth of my sorrow was equal to the joy of my son. And also in this deck, the concept is, joy shared is doubled, while sorrow shared is halved. And that's kind of the concept, right? So I don't have them as cards yet, but I did do them as business cards. So this is kind of what they'll look like.
Mm-hmm.
And this is much smaller than the poker size, so I'll end up making them in that kind of a size, right?
Yeah. I would
So I
love to
think,
have a purse size too, like that little one would be nice because then I could take it with me. But the bigger ones you could display every day. You could pull one and
yeah.
yeah.
So there's a poker size, so I could make them in poker size, which would just be a teeny bit bigger. And that's the nice thing about the Game Crafter, is that you can make your product in different packages. So with the Pearls deck, I have them in bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. The bronze just being just the deck and a small booklet for people that don't want the rest of all the stuff. They want to make a bag or whatever, save shipping. All the way to the platinum one, which is both this jumbo and the poker deck, all of the books, and a layout board.
Yeah, that's the one I have my heart set on. So
So there's the layout board, right? And then it has to do with the spreads that are in there, which I took from, I allowed Angeli's Arian to inspire that. I don't know if you've ever read the book The Signs of Life by her.
I've read a couple of hers, but that one I don't think I have.
She has the international signs of circle, square, spiral, triangle, and equidistant cross. And it was kind of my first step into reading when I got this book, and it was basically the order in which you like the shapes tells you where you're at on your journey.
Huh.
And so I took the same concept from that, and then I laid out my cards in those positions, and then that's what it told me the reading meant. As I turned over the card, it said, this is the this, and so that's where I developed those spreads. So I'm letting my cards do the talking. Well, they're pretty chatty.
No, they are, but they're wonderful. And y'all, if you don't have this deck, for me, it's a deck that a reader, if you like, and I like color. I told somebody once that I didn't like the felt deck because it was too dark. And I got, pages back in an email of how I was wrong. I was associating Aleister Crowley with the dark. And I wrote back and said, no, the colors. I was being really, really literal. And that's why I'm drawn to really colorful decks. My eyes like to move. I'm an Aquarius rising, so I'm like, oh, yes, and grabbing information from everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do you have a certain ritual before you began your creative process, before you began a painting, or before you dive into making a new deck? Is there something that you do, drink a cup of tea, dance the tarantella?
I think that's changed over the years depending upon where I am. Right now, I'm kind of studio-less. I work in the living room. So mostly I make a mess. and I'm one of those kind of out of chaos comes order people.
Yes.
And so when I set up these drawings that I've been doing, I'll lay them all out on the living room floor so I can see what they're all doing, and I've got my crayons in a tin box. And no, I make a mess. You can ask my husband. Every mess is a mess.
And what's your favorite medium? I've heard you talk about pencils and I believe crayons and oils, or what is your favorite medium right now?
Well, the one I'm working in right now is the color pencil. So I use Prismacolors because you can really blend them. And I do a lot. I'm doing the coloring book in pen and ink. So with those really fine felt pens, Staedtler Mars pens.
Mm-hmm.
But I was an art teacher for many years, so I'm just an art addict. Art supplies addict. I'm also working in metallic leaf right now. I have a couple of paintings on the go. Like I said, I'm painting, like Shay Rabbit. So in the garage, which is a space I can work, I just finished painting a big banner for a local dinner theater. So I was using a roller, so I did my first Roxi roller painting.
Nice.
Just roller colors and then the letters on top. So now that's done. So I thought, well, I could work in here as long as I get some heat. And so I'm working on 2 metallic leaf paintings, which I think is really fun because I used to be a potter and do a lot of raku pottery. And when you put it in the leaves and stuff, it comes out with all sorts of cool effects, right?
I love her, yeah.
The metallic leaf is similar to that. You can get modelly colors and different kinds of effects, right? So I'm working on one for a painting for a little girl who was born whose name's Celeste, so it's very celestial. And then, do you know Jennifer Seek? She does the sacred bracelets.
The name's familiar, but I'd have to look her up again.
Yeah, she's in the community anyways. And so she asked me if I would do a trade for some of her a bracelet for one of my paintings.
Nice.
So I'm doing a portrait of her. And so the idea is that we're inspiring each other. So I sent her one of my paintings, a picture of one of my paintings, and so she's using the colors and the inspiration of my Caribbean painting to create the bracelet. And she sent me pictures, and I'm using those things to inspire this painting. So
very cool. Now, what is the most challenging thing about the work you do? I mean, I know we've talked about not having a studio. Is there anything else that you find super challenging about approaching art from the way you do it?
Challenging. I don't really find it challenging. I kind of suffer from idea diarrhea. I've never been at a point where I didn't have, like, I had writer's block or anything. I think maybe the challenge, I guess, is the writing, the actual sitting down and, I thought when I first, took on this little project, well, I'll write as I go, and then when I'm done, I'm done. But that's not how my brain works. Mm-hmm. And the prose that I thought was going to be an oracle deck, and I was trying to think about the writing, how that might work, and that wasn't really happening for me. And so I thought I'll just leave it till the end. And now, just a little while ago, I added in a picture that I hadn't painted before, but it was a picture of my girlfriend who has beautiful flowers. She was just in Sweden, and she went to the Midsummer's Festival where they did the maypole and all of that kind of stuff, right? Anyways, and so she had the flowers and everything around her head, and so many of the drawings that I had done had that. Just a sec, I'll see if I can quickly find one. Hers is upstairs, so I can't show it to you. I should have thought of this before, but a lot of the paintings that I had done, now I can't find one, of course, there we go, with flowers in the hair.
Yes.
Right? So when I saw her picture come up on Facebook as her profile picture, I asked, can I put you in my deck? And so now it carries through from several of the different paintings to her. Kind of starts with I have a little girl, Thumbelina, the same card or same kind of thing, mm-hmm. And then I have that one that's kind of a pregnant person, right? And now my friend who's my age, right? So the maid, the mother, the crone,
nice
kind of thing that can tie into it. And I used a lot of that through the Pearls of Wisdom as well. The triple garland is very strong through the whole thing.
There's a lot of pagan imagery in Pearls of Wisdom for me as a witch. When I pick up a deck and I can look at this, and I don't even have to know, because I didn't know who Roxi Sim was. I mean, you were a name on a deck I wanted, truly. And since I've been on Facebook, and Facebook for me has been a real community connector within mm-hmm. the tarot group. But I looked at that and I thought, this woman either walks the path or knows the path, because there was so much going on in it. And that may be another reason that it really drew me in, because it just spoke to me on a different level than just tarot.
Well, I lived in the forest for 25 years.
I didn't know that.
Yes, in a small little town in a log cabin in the forest. I was a potter with my husband, and I taught at the local high school and 2 boys, and lived the hippie life more than anything. So I lived it, right? And I also, I'll move in. I have 2 different colored eyes. So I don't know if that automatically
that's cool. A very good friend of mine lives, I haven't talked to her in so long, we may not be friends anymore, but we used to be friends, but she lives in the Ozarks and is a potter named Susan Maynard, and does a really I have one of her pots over there, but she does like dancing naked women around a tree is a theme that she does a lot.
Yeah, I would relate to that. Yeah. That's actually how we got to go to Grenada, was through pottery. My husband was working at a pottery down there.
Nice.
And it was kind of it's been a kind of crazy journey, but when my son was ill, we kept saying, well, he loved reggae, and we said, well, when you're better, we'll take you to Jamaica, because we had friends who were from Jamaica. And on his birthday, just not even a year later, we got this opportunity to go to Grenada. And so we just said, okay, this is a gift from Shay. And
I was just going to say, he was reaching across and going, I still want to go, but I need y'all to go so I can tag along.
Yeah. So, that was, and that's where I took up painting. And so that's kind of the whole connection of it. But for me, I didn't want to paint my angst. I wanted to paint and to uplift myself and uplift other people, because you don't uplift yourself by painting your angst. That just puts it out into somebody else's face. And and I've used my artwork in many ways to overcome it. And I've also done a few children's books. I helped another family with the loss of their daughter by making a book about her, and I did one for my son. And things like that, there where the art has just been a way to recover and a way to, and so that's why I want to share it in terms of creating this other deck. Because sometimes just taking a stopping of the day and just taking a look at something can just give you a moment, and sometimes a moment is all you can get. And if you can take that moment and just really make the most of it and realize, oh, I had a good moment today just because I took time for myself and took time to read this meditation or to do a meditation, and just I took time for myself, because that's what happens when, especially if you're a mom and wife and all the rest, you're doing everything for everybody else, right? and I think the one thing that I learned through this whole thing and being sick and all of that is that you have to take time for yourself, and because if you're a dry well, you're not giving anybody anything.
I tell my clients a lot that they have to nourish themselves if they want to nourish anybody else. A cow that doesn't eat grass doesn't make milk.
Yeah.
I know I just compared us to cows.
Well, that's my Ace of Cups, where she's pouring the cup, of unconditional love over self, and then what's left over goes off to nourish the others and feed the other flowers, right? And so it's always a hard one to easier said than done, but my idea with it is, okay, I'm now going to take 5 minutes, and the idea of having a purse copy is a really good idea, because you could just be sitting at the doctor's office waiting for something, and it could just take your mind to a different place.
Exactly, and that's we just need to get our minds somewhere else. Now, what do you think that's one of the most rewarding things that you've done in your work? Because that's the next question, is what's the most rewarding thing for you from being a creative?
Probably inspiring others. I was a teacher, and I think my gift as a teacher was to see the spark in each student, that this spark is a different spark than this. This kid's more into this and this. Like, I had one kid, you could only tell it was a painting of a chocolate cake is because it was brown, right? But you gave him a piece of clay and he could sculpt anything. Okay, well, forget about painting. You go sculpt.
Yeah.
You can paint your sculptures.
That's beautiful.
And I taught in such a small school, and I would have kids coming back to me year after year and in so many different classes that there was no way that I could just give the same assignments every year. So I had to always have something new and all that. And then I developed a media course, a video production and animation course in the 90s, back using the old Amiga computers. And one of my students now is a movie producer in Hollywood, and he just did a film here. He brought it back to where we live here with Anthony Hopkins in it. And it was just at the Venice Film Festival.
Oh my gosh.
And so and he named his company Enderby Entertainment. So he named his company after his hometown. So to me, if I did anything there, I inspired him to go and do what he's really good at, but also to give back to the community, because that's something I think is lacking in the world today is community. And I think we're really in a me right now.
Yes.
And it's time to think about we, right? And I was involved in community projects for the whole time that I lived in this area. I helped start an art gallery and a music festival, and with my family we started a science center. And we started a mural project in Enderby and an arts council and that kind of thing. And you get your community together, and in a small community compared to a city where I grew up in Vancouver, you get this sense of community is so much stronger in the small towns, right? And you can accomplish so much, and it's just a coming together. So the arts is really huge in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
I was just at a dinner theater last night, and my son's involved in sound and technical stuff there, and I just saw a Rocky Horror Picture Show in a chicken barn in Armstrong, and it was fabulous. And it's wonderful to live in an area where there are artists and there are creative people and, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, community building. And I think, like you were saying with the Facebook, it's allowed tarot artists and creators to come together. Like Pamela and I started the Deck Creators page. And
I love that group.
And it's really supportive of everybody, and it's, sharing ideas, and maybe we could do this and that, and all coming to the realization that we're never going to get rich doing this. But anyways, it is about the sharing of it and knowing that, my deck it's around the world. It's in Australia and New Zealand and Indonesia and Thailand and Holland and Finland.
Impact.
And even though it might not be in a lot of places around the world, in those places, but it has made it around the world. So I'm just hoping that wherever it lands is, it brings a little bit of joy, because that's a big theme that needs to be encouraged, Yeah. You're right there.
Now, here's my final question for you, and this has been so much fun. I feel like I could talk to you for another 3 hours, but I try to keep them tight for my viewers because I know time is a thing. But what's a piece of advice you would offer to someone who wanted to be a creative as well? And I use the term creative just for everything that we are: writer, artist, dancer, all of those things.
Yeah, just do it. I'm still tap dancing. I'm 61 and I'm still tap dancing.
I didn't know you tap danced.
Yeah, I'm a tapper. I'm a hoofer. Yeah. And I started tap dancing when I was 5, and actually that's a big part of my art, I think, because I got to dance on the Queen Elizabeth Theatre in Vancouver as a 5-year-old, which is the big theatre in Vancouver. And you got to be backstage and see all the amazing props and all the costumes and all those sparkles. And I definitely got stung by the sparkle bug, but you can never have too many sparkles.
No, never. Well, that's awesome. How cool is that?
So that's probably got me into the arts. And I would just say, however you can do it. If you live in a small town and there's a community theater, go get involved. Even if you don't want to be the actor on the stage, you can be the ticket taker. You can be the costume person. You can be the prop helper. Or, there's so many ways, but it's about building community through the arts. And that's kind of how I've always felt. And even with the Science Center, which was my dad's and mom's project, they just had their 25th anniversary. And it was great to see all the people that were there at the beginning and how far it's gone over the years and all of that kind of stuff, because it became a community project and the community took ownership of it. And it's serves the community. So I think that's part of it. What does your work serve? And even people that say, oh, I want to make a tarot deck. Well, what does your tarot deck offer that isn't already out there, or what purpose does it serve? And so that's what I'm hoping with my new little one that I'm working on, is that it serves a purpose.
Yeah. Already I can see a purpose. So, well, terrific. Thank you so very much. I'm going to put links in the drop down. Once I hang up, I'm going to hit you up on Facebook to get some links and stuff like that. So I've got information.
I put everything through my webpage, so people can go to the webpage and then go off to other places from there.
Awesome. And we'll do that. We'll give them a central location to go find everything, because I'm pretty sure that people who are watching this are going to say, I need that deck. And you're right. It's a deck Arwen says you need. So, and while you're out there, buy Arwen one. No. I'm such a Pisces. Like, gimme. But thank you very much. And everybody watching, this has been Roxi Sim. She is the creator of Pearls of Wisdom, the upcoming Joy and Sorrow, and many other things in between. Solitaire, you'll go to her website and find everything out about the tap dancing tarot creator.
That's me in the world at the end, the tap dancing cheerleader, right? I used to be a
like it.
cheerleader too, so rah rah.
Okay, well, seek joy, y'all, and pass it on.
Thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot, Arwen.
Roxy.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Gotta find my little hang-up.